Can your shoes lose a tread from the grip that you lack? I know that you love your woman with a blunt, so I emptied out a swisher and I filled it with some love. I know.
Hello, welcome. I'm Ayurveda PICCIOTTI. In this episode, we're talking about ADHD and Ayurveda. Now, I'm somebody that has quote-unquote struggled with ADHD for many years. I am currently unprescription medicated, and we'll talk a little bit about what being medicated means for different viewpoints. I'm an unprescription medicated person with ADHD, but there are days where my ADHD feels like it's not a struggle, and days where it's an extreme struggle, and I'm getting lost in my own brain, and it's frustrating. When we study Ayurveda, we can start to connect the dots, not just with how we experience ADHD, but the way our bodies are expressing it themselves, the way our feelings are being expressed, what we're eating, our lifestyle choices, literally everything, because ADHD, if you think about hyperactivity, if you think about activity and the word hyper and then the word activity, those very much go hand in hand with the Vata dosha. The Vata dosha is aggravated. The Vata is very light. It's very mobile. So if this hyperactivity is bothersome, it's because that Vata dosha is aggravated. We're also going to talk about some herbs and remedies that are non-prescription based. So when I say medicated, I'm not medicated as in the sense as I'm not taking prescription medications for ADHD. At one time in my life, I very much was. If you've watched any of my other stories, you may have known that I had an addiction problem years ago. So it was not just prescription medications. It was full-blown heroin, meth, Xanax. It was beyond Adderall and Vyvanse. So Vata, restlessness, hyperactivity, they're characteristics of the mobile quality of Vata dosha. Vata people tend to give up their energy too quickly, confidently diving into experimental lifestyles. That's why you'll see so many people that are predominantly Vata that experience ADHD also experience experimenting life, addictions of all forms, jumping different lifestyles, jumping to different colleges over and over and over, jumping to different states, living around. It's a Vata type quality to be very mobile and light. But so is ADHD. And in Ayurveda, we can balance things with the opposite quality, but we need to identify and place adjectives, not nouns, but adjectives to the qualities that we're experiencing within that moment. So even if you're like, I struggle with ADHD, this is how it is most of the time. These are the umbrella terms for what I experience. Really go into the momentary experience. So when you do have a day where it's very hard to focus, that's when we want to really identify those qualities. We can do an umbrella term, and kind of identify those qualities looking at them from this perspective. But when we're in that experience, we want to identify those adjectives so we can place the opposite adjective with it and find treatment that matches those words, those opposite adjectives. For example, what's the opposite of cold? Hot. So if somebody's very Vata, very light, very mobile, they're also feeling very cold. Placing them in a cold environment will not be beneficial. It will create their minds to want to go even more mobile or light. So we would match that with hot to balance that out. And if you notice, like when someone is hot in a hot tub, they're more relaxed. They're not going to be jumping around everywhere per se. They're going to be in that more maybe kapha relaxed state, pitta kapha relaxed state. Hyperactivity, some people can slide by, and most days I can slide by and do my routines and do my Ayurvedic practices and continue to have this level of awareness and holistic lifestyle choices that help me navigate through those moments. But there's times it's a pressure that impedes on the ability of a person's free will. to contemplate what would actually fulfill them. So then we end up filling our lives with different choices, later on having a loop of guilt or regret, and then shame comes in, and then again our minds are going on a very mobile track with those thoughts. So then we're dealing with self-esteem. So you can see how all of these patterns kind of interconnect. And if you deal with ADHD, right, you probably deal with these other things as well. I want to say pain, discomfort, or indigestion can make a person unable to relax. So if you're in pain, if you're uncomfortable, if you're having improper digestion, we would need to really identify those first and focus on those first. Any disturbance in blood chemistry or at the site of a nerve that stimulate the nerve can also lead to hyperactivity. So if you're having nerves that are pressed on, pinched, nerve damage, etc. And what we can do for those specific areas with what qualities they're experiencing. Magnesium. Magnesium deficiency is a huge thing in the world right now, probably because of either the water we drink and the lack of mineral intake completely, which probably shuts down multiple pathways in our system, or our brain kind of goes on, holy shit, I have to make up for all of these losses. Magnesium deficiency, not just with our water, with our diet, of course. If you're living in America, we really need to hone in on smaller communities, smaller local communities. It's better to eat local than it is to go out and buy organic from a big name company that really isn't organic and that was truly grown inside of a lab. Okay, we really need non-GMO things. But even then, we can't just have, okay, I have these non-GMO things and that's all I'm just going to eat. What are the qualities of those things and how are they affecting us? I'm confident that as medicine and technology advances, we'll be able to do those at-home testing that will give us results right away. Okay, your hormones are here today. Okay, these are where your minerals are at. And I think that when we can identify things like our mineral levels, we'll be able to we'll be able to feel better because we'll be able to be in connection with our diet a little bit better. Because we're so disconnected from our environment, we need to have a little bit more awareness of how we're intaking our food and like what we're intaking. We need to put a little bit more thought into it, unless you're actually going out and connecting with the environment, letting the body be within the sun or whatever weather that is that day and being around the plants. Like there's this story about a horse being moved from a cold climate to a hot climate. The horse had never lived in a hot climate before. The horse was in the hot climate and he was in the pasture and there was two bushes. There was a tomato bush and then there was a pepper bush. This horse had never been in hot climate. So what did that horse naturally go to eat? The cherry tomato bush, because it's a lot more cooling, of course, in the heat. He's already hot. He's not going to go aggravate that heat by eating those peppers. So we can kind of see how that can be played into multiple places in our life. Not just magnesium deficiency, that can make your muscles restless. So if you are feeling like your ADHD or anxiety, and they go hand in hand, is starting to kick off and it affects the way you sleep, that's a good ding, ding, ding. Maybe I have a magnesium deficiency. Maybe I take magnesium at night. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you professional information or tips. You need to go do your own research. You need to go be your own doctor or go talk to a doctor with this information, although most of them are not trained in Ayurveda. So other causes of your ADHD aggravation, so the aggravated Vata, we no longer have to sit and say, I am ADHD. Okay, maybe I'm a Vata dominant. That's dealing with a lot of hyperactivity. That's my Vata is very aggravated. So how do I balance that? You are not bound to this one way forever unless you agree to it. If you agree that you were given the freedom of choice, change the way you choose your medicine. Other possible causes of aggravated Vata: dehydration, hunger, hypoglycemia, other blood deficiencies, which would be a yin deficiency in Chinese medicine. That may cause hyperactivity, restless in the body, because the body's trying to compensate for the deficiency by stimulating the nervous system to solve the deficiency. So here are some remedies and tips for when you're dealing with these situations. ADHD, hi. Nutmeg will help to reduce Vata. So will hemp seeds, oats, oatmeal, poppy seeds, potatoes. Potatoes will actually really reduce Pitta and Kapha. So if you're feeling like your anxiety is driven from anger, maybe have something like a potato to get you a little bit more grounded and release that heat. But herbs and supplements for hyperactive and quick qualities. I love ashwagandha. I also like to take Brahmi, but that's like you need to go search that herb before just hearing somebody saying it and then just going to take it. Ashwagandha at this point in time, 2023, you have probably heard about it. It is so popular now, which is also why we need to continue to grow and not just buy, because the big man on campus will swoop on in and GMO everything. So we really need to stay consistent with our own medicine. If you're going to be using these medicines, please support companies that have their own farms that grow their own things. On top of maybe ashwagandha, which I find to be helpful for hyperactivity, for hypothyroid, for anxiety, some depressions, a whole, stress, sleep disorder, a whole list of other things. Other things to reduce Vata specifically, minimizing screen time, video games. If you have a child that is maybe struggling with ADHD a bit and you notice that the screens really kick off their hyperactivity, limit it to 30-minute increments. What I do with my son is that he has to earn 5 tickets throughout the day, and he can only earn up to 5 a day, and he can turn in those 5 tickets for 30 minutes of screen time. So it's limiting his screen time to 30 minutes per day, or he has the option to save up his tickets for multiple days and then play for a long time. But he's 5 and he hasn't decided to do that. He wants that instant gratification. But to earn those tickets, he does certain things. Taking care of his plants, like being in connection with nature, telling himself loving things and loving himself. That is a requirement. So just special things, and you can add in, like simple, your morning routine, buddy. Did you do your morning routine? Brush your teeth. I do my tongue scraping. He doesn't like it, but he brushes his teeth. He gets dressed on his own. He waters his plants. He takes care of his cat. And to me, that's a rewardful thing. Moving on. You're going to want to avoid certain things in your lifestyle or in your choices that you make if you're dealing with an aggravated, your Vata is aggravated. You need to make changes. So you can't just take a supplement and expect everything to change in your life. You also need to make some changes. According to Ayurveda, this is coming from Joyful Belly's website. According to Ayurveda, one or more of the following doshas and biocharacteristics may aggravate hyperactive or quick. If you have an excess of one of these doshas or biocharacteristics below, Ayurveda recommends reducing foods and lifestyle habits that aggravate them. So we want to avoid foods that may aggravate Vata. You may want to avoid certain types of clear foods, avoid certain light foods, avoid certain mobile foods, avoid certain dry foods, and avoid certain hot foods that may aggravate Vata. Let me see here. So for Vata specifically, you're going to want to avoid foods with these qualities: bitter, astringent, cold, dry, clear, and light. You're going to want to favor a sleeping routine, an eating schedule. Vatas, no more sporadic eating. Really try to get scheduled. If you're struggling with that, then reflect. Daily reflection at the end of the day is going to help you to activate the part of the mind to remember, right? So when you're in the moment of ADHD, that part of the mind to remember is going to be activated by reviewing your whole day. What did you do the whole day? What did you eat? How did you feel? What happened? Just go through the whole day and review it. Another thing to favor, to keep Vata pacified in a healthy lifestyle, avoid a lot of raw foods or too much cleansing, okay? Vata's already deficient. You're already very deficient. We don't need more deficiency. More deficiency is going to create more hyperactivity, definitely more anxiety. For Vatas, it's more of like more of a Kapha person would probably do more of a cleanse per se, or even Pitta. A Vata, we don't want to cleanse so much. You don't want to focus on detoxing as much as you do replenishing. You want to increase sweet, sour, salty, and pungent tastes. Massage yourself daily with Vata oil. So if you're a part of my, any of my workshops or my video library, we do Abhyanga, where we rub warm oil on our bodies, and each dosha has its own oil that you can use. I like to use sunflower oil. That is a oil all doshas can use. You want to keep the colon clean. You can use certain herbs. I love to use herbs. I also love to use aloe vera juice, but you're really going to want to keep the colon clean as a Vata type. Notice your poop schedule. Try to get your poop on a schedule. You want to poop at the same time every day. Get on a sleep schedule, get on a food schedule, get on a poop schedule. And then from there, you know what I'm saying? Add in those massages. Add in sweet, sour, salty, and pungent taste. Avoid raw foods. Keep warm and comfortable. Stay hydrated. Increase oils. Increase warm foods and liquids. Eat soups. Eat khichdi. Eat pho. Drink tea. Increase, again, sweet, sour, salty, pungent tastes. Favor these Vata herbs. Ashwagandha. Ghee. So instead of just using butter, use ghee. It's clarified butter. You can make it at home. I've done it before, but I just buy from the store now because I feel like I'm just I love cooking. Don't get me wrong. This is all about Ayurveda, is the connection. I'm also just very busy as a single mother. Licorice root, really great. Again, before you go taking herbs, you need to identify what prescription medications you're already taking. You need to actually identify your predominant dosha and the imbalance that you're experiencing. Please do not go load up on all herbs all at once, and don't start mixing herbs. Take one at a time, and you never ever take herbs for longer than 3 months at a time. We want to take breaks. We want to take pauses. Your body knows how to heal. These are simply tools. Vata times of day. Vata comes at the end of digestion, the end of the day, the end of the year, the end of a person's life. Vata naturally increases during the flowing times. During autumn, Vata gets high in the autumn due to cold, dry, and mobile qualities. Autumn is mobile because the weather is irregular and windy. 5 to 6 hours after a meal. 5 to 6 hours after a meal, Vata rises when blood sugar levels dip and the body gets hungry. So when you eat, just notice if your hyperactivity changes after you eat a meal. And notice your consistency with meals. My Vata types are very prone to forgetting to eat meals. Okay, Vatas, you're already light and mobile as it is. You're already so creative as it is. But we need to bring that to a little bit more grounded level. We need to keep you fed. We need to keep you on a consistent schedule. We need to look at fat and oil as love and not be so afraid and shameful of gaining weight too, if that's something that you experience. If you experience an eating disorder at all, you're most likely dealing with an aggravated Vata, even if you're predominantly a Kapha person. If you are dealing with an eating disorder or disordered eating, that is going to be probably the number one kicker for your hyperactivity, eating disorder, and your depression and anxiety, panic attacks, eating disorder. Really have to focus on that. Really healthy food routines. We're in love with the food. We don't have to you don't need to be perfect at Ayurveda. You don't need to make all the perfect food choices. Just make the better ones. If you're angry that day, don't go for the spicy food. Go for something a little bit more cooling. If you're seriously aggravated with your ADHD, maybe put some comfy clothes on, drink some soup, read a book, and get grounded. You know what I'm saying? Truly get grounded. Nothing else matters because you're not going to be able to complete anything. After 50, Vata is deficiency, and body becomes deficient in later years of life. Vata sites at the body, the colon, the waist and the lower half of the body, the bones, the skin, the ears, and the mind. So Vata types are often, they say they're very clairaudient. They can hear messages. They're also very sensitive to sounds. Maybe people that'll say, oh, they're ADHD. Oh, they're autistic. Oh, those kids are this and they're that, because of the way they're like, those kids don't like sounds. Maybe they have a lot of constipation because of the instability within the diet. Maybe the skin's very dry because of the light and mobile qualities. The mind, when Vata is high, the mind becomes stimulated, anxious, afraid. Vata people often experience racing thoughts, disjointed thoughts. They're highly imaginative and quick to understand, but also quick to forget, which is why I want you to really focus on, if you take anything from this podcast, nightly review at the end of the day. Nightly review your day. Change up the tastes. Stop your disordered eating. Go to therapy for that. Seek healing around that. That's what I'm currently doing. I'm still currently healing in my disordered eating journey after however many years it's been, 15 years. It's a process. Never stop balancing it. Okay, so related symptoms and habits. The following symptoms and habits may be related to hyperactive and quick. Do you drink coffee more than 3 times a week? Emotional tendencies, frequent stress. If you're hyperactive when you're stressed, that is a good indication that something's throwing you into that hyperactive state, right? We don't have to hide. We don't have to claim I'm ADHD forever. Like, you are just experiencing life. But this is being aggravated and thrown into a state of imbalance. Eating habits, if they're irregular, you need to have more scheduled, regular eating times. Thoughts, comprehension, talks quickly. Or what about joint pain and ligament and tendons? Your neck pain and tension. Do you often have neck pain? Your central nervous system, ADHD, racing thoughts, sleep patterns, light sleeper or insomnia, colon, irregular digestion or gas. Vata people are very prone to, like, if the first thing I will notice when my Vata is very aggravated is I'm farting or burping. Like, there's just a clear Vata, very airy quality about me. And I'm like, oh man, I definitely ate something that aggravated this. And then I'll notice that it happens physically, and then it also happens emotionally and mentally. And it all kind of trains together like a domino. Small intestine, nervous stomach or butterflies, thyroid, hyperthyroid. I've had a doctor try to tell me I'm hypothyroid. They try to put me on a bunch of thyroid medication. No, I did not take it. Absolutely not. Did not want to go down that route and screw my whole body up, screw my thyroid up. No, thank you. It's really because of an aggravated Vata. And it blows my freaking mind that I've been able to connect the dots on so many things just based on Ayurveda. So yeah, there's about 20,000 people when they reported hyperactivity. They also reported feeling light, like light qualities, dry, like bitter, astringent, difficult, sour, cold, hot, aggravates. These are all biocharacteristics that they listed. And so I want to go again back to the weight thing. Most people will feel underweight that feel hyperactive, ADHD. So even if you're somebody that's trying to lose weight, okay, and you're experiencing feeling underweight or a feeling of lightness, maybe not underweight for your goal, just in that day, in that daily experience, and you neglected like those parts of those nutritional aspects, those elemental aspects of your diet and connection with nature, then yes, you're going to feel hyperactive. You're going to feel exactly like a Vata would, feeling underweight, feeling like dizzy, feeling like all of these things. So please don't allow the westernized way of how you're supposed to be, or how you're supposed to live, or how you're supposed to look, or how you're supposed to be in your character to determine if you're underweight or overweight. We're really talking about experience here, not the end goal of what we've created in our minds. Complications of those reporting hyperactive and quickness, they're likely to report the following: losing weight easily or feeling light, right? Sunken chest, ribs showing, thin, lanky, slim, or thin muscles, or maybe your muscles are being kind of eaten away. Make and change friends often. Irregular small appetites, slender, thin hips, mood changes quickly, talks quickly, creative, imaginative, thin skin, conflict, makes me restless. That's what they all showed. So with that whole conversation in mind, yes, I'm sure you can relate to so many of that, but also, how can you become more aware of all of your senses while you're experiencing life? Let's just take it one step at a time. You're already going to include that nightly review at the end of your day, and you're going to play around with different tastes, and you're going to start to put adjectives on your experience when you're feeling very ADHD. And you're going to start to identify some herbs that might match well with you. But really start to notice your senses as you're eating. What happens to all of your senses as you're eating something? And start to slow the mind down by slowing down with your food. The rest of your life, we can get there. I'm not going to say just slow down in everything you do, because that's just part of your nature to be Vata, to be mobile and light. So I can't say Vata, don't ever move again. That would not be good. That would also be imbalanced. That would be too low of Vata. So slow down with your food. Try maybe some ashwagandha. I do like licorice root, but I really go to ashwagandha. I go to I'll show you. I'll be right back. Hold on. I'll bring out some things. So for Ayurveda, I have this herbal supplement called Brahmi. It is, if I can get it straight, it's one of the most popular Ayurvedic herbs, so you can do a little bit of research on that. I use it and notice I have more clarity, I would say. So a little bit more focus, but also more clarity of thought. And for me, brain fog is a huge struggle, along with ADHD and other things. Sorry, I'm just looking at my hair here on the screen, and I'm like, wow, which direction are we going? This is something as far as brain fog, if you feel like you also deal with brain fog with it. Nasya oil. This is a practice that I do in the morning, and it's oil in the nose. So when I lay back, I will put in 5 drops of oil in this nostril, 5 drops of oil in this nostril. I'll let it drain back through my sinuses, and then I'll give a good sniff. And I have been doing this practice now for a couple of months. I'm still pretty new at that. And I notice a very huge difference with my brain function and my brain fog. It takes away the brain fog. And I'm like, oh, I have all of this room for activity, for hyperactivity. But no, I stay more focused and clear. Something else I also do is Shirodhara. I have an incredible Shirodhara piece of equipment, and it pours water, warm water or warm oil on the center of your head or your third eye. or different pressure points on your forehead, really. And it's a practice that they do in Ayurveda. You can do it for 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, 45 minutes a day, etc. And it brings me into this very clear-minded state. If you've ever practiced yoga, you go through the whole yoga practice, and then at the end you do your shavasana, and then you feel different. You feel better. Maybe you feel a bit more clear-minded. It brings me to that place. Maybe not physically, I can't physically feel the energy move through my body and shift as in my limbs, but within my brain and my mind, that's where it brings me. And it's been really helpful with me setting goals and maintaining the remembrance of those goals, because as somebody that struggles with hyperactivity, you can set goals or maybe struggle with setting goals because your brain can't even focus on what to set. And those two practices, I will wake up in the morning, I scrape my tongue with my tongue scraper, I brush my teeth with my own tooth powder that I made with herbs, my Ayurvedic tooth powder, which you can purchase from me at my website. Just go to Ayur-Vive.com or reach out to me at thepalmbeachyogi@gmail.com. I will then put the oil in my nose, or I'll rub oil all over my body. I'll do Abhyanga, and then I'll put the oil in my nose and lay under the Shirodhara machine and just let the oil soak into my skin. At the same time, this is running that warm oil or warm water on my forehead, and I'm meditating, and the oil is running through my nose. And then I wake up and I drink some warm water. Warm water. I'm a predominantly Vata type, cold and light and mobile. So I wake up and I drink that warm water. I'll put some lemon juice in my water if I feel like I'm having upset belly, fiery digestion per se, because I am very prone to pitta digestion. So I'll do a little bit of that, and then I'll make a tea. And I'll take Brahmi in the morning in my tea. I have multiple forms of Brahmi in liquid and in powder. And I'll just I'll do that. At the end of the day, I do my nightly review. If I felt like shit that day, I make adjustments. What did I eat? What was my diet like? Was it regular? Was it routine? Most people that are on prescription medications also have lifestyle choices that they know that they could change to improve the quality of their life as far as struggling with ADHD, but they don't do it. Mainly because of that Vata, the aggravated Vata in your mindset causes you to pull away from following through with that option. And I know it seems hard, and it's also frustrating to hear because you have to bring yourself through that. And that's a lesson in life that we have to learn. Do you want to be on that medication for the rest of your life, or are you going to finally step into a place of being uncomfortable and being aware that you're uncomfortable and just being fucking uncomfortable and surviving it? Because that's what we need to do. If we continue down this path of I'm uncomfortable and please just make me comfortable so I can survive. No, have a community where you can be in, where you can be crazy, where you can have a mental breakdown, where you can go through this healing process. That's the only fucking way that the pharmaceutical industry will crash. I'm not saying crash as in all prescriptions are bad, but they're profiting off of us in this way. And that is what is unfair, because antibiotics have played such an important role in the health of society and humans and saving lives, right? But at the same time, Ayurveda and Western medicine, we view viruses differently. We view diseases differently. Western medicine really views them as nouns, and Ayurveda views them as adjectives. Ayurveda is holistic, and Western is very powerful, but it's physically impactful but can be emotionally, energetically damaging and disconnected from experience of source. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Again, my website is www.ayur-vive.com. I'm working on getting a new email. I just have a lot of things on my to-do list. So still please use the email I've been using for the last 6 years, which is thepalmbeachyogi@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, etc. Catch me in the next episode for next week. I have no idea what I wrote down for the topic for next week, but I'm sure as shit that it will be a good one. Have a great day. Namaste.